The rain hammered against the windows of the small apartment in Brooklyn, the sound like a war drum in the silence between them. Elena sat on the edge of the couch, her fingers gripping the hem of her sweater so tightly her knuckles turned white. Across from her, Adrian stood by the bookshelf, his arms crossed over his chest, his jaw clenched so tight she thought it might shatter. "Say something," she whispered, her voice barely carrying over the storm outside. Adrian exhaled sharply, his fingers twitching at his sides. "I don't even know where to start, Elena. This is beyond anything I ever imagined." A lump lodged in her throat as she closed her eyes. She had known this moment would come. She had spent years preparing for it, dreading it, fearing it. And now that it was here, it felt so much worse than she had ever anticipated. "It was before you," she tried, her voice breaking. "Before us." "That doesn't erase it," Adrian shot back, his tone raw. "You were involved in something. Something criminal. Jesus, Elena, this isn't just some bad decision you made in your past. This is betrayal, deceit. I don't even know who you are anymore." She flinched at his words, her heart aching in a way she didn't think was possible. "You do know me. The me standing in front of you right now, that's real. That's who I am. I never wanted you to find out this way." Adrian scoffed, dragging a hand through his already disheveled hair. "Oh, yeah? And how exactly were you planning on telling me? Were you ever going to tell me? Or was this just going to be another one of your secrets?" Tears burned in her eyes as she stood. "I was going to tell you, Adrian. I swear I was. I didn't want to lose you." He shook his head, his expression hardening. "You should have told me the truth from the beginning. Maybe then I wouldn't feel like my entire life has been a lie." Silence fell between them, thick with unspoken words, with pain too vast to measure. The storm raged outside, a mirror of the turmoil inside their small apartment. Elena took a shaky breath, stepping closer, but Adrian took a step back, putting space between them. Her stomach clenched, the reality of the situation sinking in. "Adrian, please," she begged, her voice trembling. "I love you. That has never been a lie." His eyes, those eyes she had fallen in love with, flashed with pain. "I don't know if love is enough anymore, Elena. Not when trust has been shattered." Her heart cracked, and for the first time in a long time, she realized that some wounds could never fully heal. Some truths could never be undone. And love might not always be enough to save them. As the night deepened and the storm continued to rage, so did the question that hung between them. Could love survive the truth? "You should have told me from the beginning," Adrian said, his voice cracking. "Maybe then I wouldn't feel like my entire life's been a lie." Silence fell thick between them. Elena's breath hitched as she spoke again, her voice trembling. "I was desperate, Adrian. My brother, Michael, he got involved with the wrong people. I tried to help him, but the only way to save him was to do something illegal. I didn't have a choice. I stole money. I lied. I became someone I didn't recognize, all to protect him." Adrian's expression wavered, torn between disbelief and heartbreak. "You committed a crime, Elena. How do I reconcile that with the woman I love?" "I did it for family," she cried, her voice cracking with the weight of her confession. "And I've been trying to atone for it ever since. I built a new life, a better life, with you." Adrian took a step forward, eyes glassy. "But you lied to me, for years. How am I supposed to trust you now?" Elena's tears fell freely as she clutched her chest. "Because I love you more than anything, and I have spent every day since then trying to be someone worthy of you." Adrian hesitated, the storm outside echoing the chaos within him. Could he move past this betrayal? Could love truly survive when trust was shattered? As thunder cracked overhead, they stood at the precipice of a choice that would define the rest of their lives. The answer lingered in the air, fragile and uncertain as the rain that pounded against the glass, waiting to see if their love could weather the storm. Days had passed since their confrontation, and the air between them still hung heavy with unspoken words. Adrian's phone buzzed on the counter for the third time that night. He glanced at the screen. "Michael. Elena's brother." "Elena, he's calling again," Adrian said, his voice tight. "I told you. I'm not answering," she replied without looking up. "Why not? Maybe he knows something. Maybe he can help me understand." "Understand?" she scoffed. "Michael's the reason this all happened." Adrian grabbed the phone and stepped into the hallway, answering before she could protest. Michael? It's Adrian. What do you want? Adrian, thank God. I need to talk to Elena. Please, it's urgent. Michael's voice trembled through the receiver. She doesn't want to talk to you. But I think you owe me some answers, Adrian demanded. Michael hesitated, then spoke quickly, as if afraid Adrian might hang up. I never meant to drag her into this. It started with some bad investments. I owed a lot of money to the wrong people, loan sharks. They threatened me. My family. I was desperate. I asked Elena for help, but I never expected her to do what she did. Adrian's heart pounded in his chest. Tell me what she did. She committed insurance fraud, Michael confessed, his voice cracking with guilt. Elena worked at an insurance firm at the time. She fabricated a policy under a fake identity, then staged an accident. It was a fire, small enough not to hurt anyone but big enough to file a claim. She collected the payout and used the money to pay off my debts. Adrian's breath caught in his throat as Michael continued. She risked everything to save me, but someone found out, a man named Victor. He's dangerous, Adrian, and now he's back. He wants more money, or he's going to expose what she did. I need her help again. Please, just tell her I'm sorry. Tell her. Adrian hung up, his mind spinning. He turned to find Elena standing in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. How much did you hear? He asked softly. Enough, she whispered, wrapping her arms around herself as if bracing against the weight of her past. Adrian, I never wanted you to know. But I do know, he interrupted, his voice a mix of anguish and understanding. And now I need to know. What happens next? Outside, the rain continued to fall, a steady reminder that the storm between them was far from over. Days had passed since their confrontation, and the air between them still hung heavy with unspoken words. Adrian's phone buzzed on the counter for the third time that night. He glanced at the screen. Michael, Elena's brother. Elena, he's calling again, Adrian said, his voice tight. I told you, I'm not answering, she replied without looking up. Why not? Maybe he knows something. Maybe he can help me understand. Understand? She scoffed. Michael's the reason this all happened. Adrian's mind spun with questions. Determined to uncover the truth, he began his own investigation. He combed through old records, traced Michael's financial transactions, and visited places Michael had frequented. Days later, his search led him to Victor. Adrian arranged a meeting that took place in the dimly lit back room of a seedy bar on the city's outskirts. To Adrian's shock, Victor wasn't just a dangerous loan shark, he had been Michael's college friend. Their connection ran deeper than Adrian had imagined. Victor was wary at first, his eyes darting around as if expecting trouble. Persistence, needing to know what's going on, Adrian wore him down. Eventually, Victor leaned forward across the scratched wooden table and revealed the truth. Michael's been lying to Elena for years, he confessed, his voice rough with the weight of long-held secrets. He's not some victim drowning in debt. His gambling problems weren't bad luck, they were bad choices. I helped him out once when he got in too deep, but he couldn't stop. The guy's got a habit of digging holes he can't climb out of. He begged Elena for money, played the helpless brother card, and when that didn't work, he leaned on guilt, knew she'd do anything to protect family. Victor paused, swirling the amber liquid in his glass, then continued with a grim smirk. Thing is, I'm no saint, but I wouldn't have threatened Elena if it hadn't been part of Michael's little scheme. Yeah, you heard me right. He paid me to be the bad guy, made it look like I was the one forcing her hand, so she'd come through with the cash. And she did. Every time he cried wolf. That night, he returned to the apartment and found Elena sitting by the window, staring out the window. Without hesitation, he crossed the room and took her hands in his. Elena, I know the truth. Her gaze snapped to his, fear and confusion flickering in her eyes. What truth? Michael lied to you. Victor told me everything. How Michael used you, manipulated your love for him, and tricked you into committing that fraud. It wasn't about saving his life, it was about feeding his gambling addiction. And Victor? Victor only threatened you because Michael paid him to. No, that can't be true. Elena pulled her hands from his grasp, shaking her head as tears welled in her eyes. He's my brother, he wouldn't. He did, Adrian said softly but firmly. I know it's hard to hear, but you deserve to know the truth. He's been lying to you for years, Elena. You've sacrificed so much for him, but you don't owe him your future. Elena's breath hitched as the weight of the revelation crushed her chest. Anguish, betrayal, and heartbreak warred within her, leaving her gasping for air. Adrian pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as her sobs racked her body. "You're not alone in this," he whispered against her hair. "I'll stand by you, no matter what happens next. We'll face this together." Adrian's investigation had uncovered truths too painful to ignore. Yet Elena refused to believe that her brother could have deceived her so cruelly. Desperate for answers, she arranged a meeting with Victor. The next day, Elena sat alone in a small cafe, her hands trembling as she clutched her coffee cup. The faint hum of conversations and clinking dishes surrounded her, but she heard none of it. Her heart pounded in her chest as the door opened and Victor stepped inside. His gaze found hers immediately, and she stiffened. Sliding into the seat opposite her, Victor leaned back, studying her with a mix of curiosity and caution. "Didn't expect to hear from you," he said, his tone guarded. "I need to know the truth," Elena replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Everything. No more half-truths, no more lies." Victor exhaled slowly, then leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. "All right. You want the truth? Michael's been gambling since college. It started small. Poker games in the dorms, betting on sports. But then he found an underground gambling club off campus. High stakes, high risks, and he got hooked. That's when the lies started." Elena's breath caught in her throat as Victor continued, his voice low but unflinching. "Remember when he called home, asking for money because of unexpected college fees? That was a lie. He wasn't struggling with tuition, he was feeding his habit. Every dollar he got went straight to the tables." No, that can't be right," Elena whispered, her vision blurring with tears. "He needed help, he wouldn't." "He would," Victor cut in. "And he did, over and over again. When he couldn't pay his debts, he started borrowing people. That's when he came to me. I helped him once, few minutes, but he kept coming back. And when I said no, he found another way. Through you." Elena's chest tightened as regret clawed at her. Every sacrifice, every desperate act she had made to help Michael now felt like a cruel joke. The weight of betrayal settled deep in her bones, suffocating her. "I thought I was saving him," she choked out, her tears falling freely now. "I thought." "You thought you were helping," Victor interrupted, his voice softer. "But Michael knew exactly what he was doing. He used your love against you." Elena pressed her hands to her face, the sobs she had tried to contain breaking free. The cafe buzzed around her, but she felt utterly alone, drowning in the pain of what she had learned. Victor slid a napkin across the table, his expression unreadable. "For what it's worth, I think you deserved better. And I'm sorry you got caught in the middle of his mess." As Victor stood and walked away, Elena sat frozen, her mind replaying every memory of her brother. The laughter, the tears, the countless moments when she had chosen to believe in him. Now all she could feel was the bitter sting of regret and the hollow ache of a love that had been built on lies. The following day, Elena stood outside Michael's apartment, her pulse hammering against her ribs as she raised her fist and pounded on the door. Moments later, it swung open, revealing Michael, bleary-eyed and disheveled, still groggy from a night of gambling and drinking. "Elena, what are you doing here?" he mumbled, rubbing his eyes. "I know everything," she snapped, stepping past him into the cluttered apartment. "Victor told me the whole story. How you've been gambling since college, lying to mom and dad, lying to me, using me to cover your debts." Wait, just let me explain," Michael stammered, reaching out as if to placate her. "No, I've heard enough of your excuses." Elena's voice cracked with emotion as tears burned her eyes. "I sacrificed everything for you. I committed a crime because I thought I was saving you, but the whole time you were just using me. Do you have any idea what you've done to me, what you've taken from me?" "I didn't mean." "Don't," she cut him off, her hands trembling at her sides. "I'm done, Michael. I'm done with the lies, the manipulation, with you. I can't be a part of your life anymore." "Elena, please." "No," she shouted, her voice echoing off the walls. "I'm done." Turning on her heel, she stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door behind her. Outside, the cold air hit her like a slap, but she kept walking, her breath ragged, her chest tight with sorrow and finality. Though her heart ached, she knew she had made the only choice she could: to break free from the past and reclaim her future. no matter how much it hurt. That evening, Adrian returned home from work to find Elena curled up on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, watching one of her favorite feel-good movies. The faint glow of the television highlighted the traces of sadness still etched in her eyes. "I'm done with Michael," she whispered without turning her gaze from the screen. "Please, if he calls, don't answer. I can't let him pull me back in." Adrian crossed the room, kneeling beside her and pressing a kiss to her temple. "I promise, no more calls." Weeks passed, and life began to settle into a fragile semblance of normalcy. Then, one night, Adrian's phone buzzed. Recognizing the number, he hesitated before answering. "Victor?" "Adrian, it's Michael. He's in the hospital, beaten badly. His lies finally caught up with him." Victor's tone was grim. Adrian's grip tightened around the phone. "What happened?" "He owed money to some guys he shouldn't have crossed. When he couldn't pay, they sent a message. Broken ribs, fractured jaw, bruises all over. He's lucky to be alive." Adrian glanced toward Elena, her soft breath steady as she dozed off beneath the blanket. The ache in his chest deepened, torn between protecting her peace and the lingering bond of family. The following day, Adrian visited the hospital alone. The sterile air clung to his skin as he stepped into Michael's dimly lit room. Bruised and bandaged, Michael's swollen eyes welled with tears the moment he saw Adrian. "Where's Elena?" Michael croaked through cracked lips. "She's not coming, Michael," Adrian replied, his voice steady but heavy with finality. "She's done." Michael's shoulders shook as silent sobs racked his battered body. Tears traced down his bruised cheeks, mixing with the sting of regret and sorrow. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," he whispered. "I never wanted to hurt her." "Intentions don't erase the damage," Adrian replied firmly. "She gave you everything, and you threw it away. Now, she's choosing herself." Michael's gaze dropped, shame weighing heavier than his broken bones. Adrian stepped back, offering no comfort beyond the unspoken truth that sometimes consequences are the only path to redemption. As he walked away, Adrian hoped this would be the catalyst for Michael to change. But he also knew Elena deserved to heal without the shadow of her brother's mistakes darkening her future. And this time, he would make sure no one pulled her back into the storm she had fought so hard to escape. A year later, Adrian's phone buzzed with a text message. "Adrian, I've been getting help since I was released from the hospital. I've moved to a small town, got a steady job, and spend my time gardening. I just wanted you to know, I'm not the same man anymore. Tell Elena I love her, and I'm not the worthless brother she remembers. One day I'll make her proud of me again. Watch the mailbox. I'm paying back all the money I took over the years with interest. Maybe one day, in the far future, we'll see each other again. Michael." Adrian read the message twice, the weight of it settling in his chest. Perhaps, against all odds, Michael had found the path to redemption, after all. Pocketing his phone, he looked over at Elena, who stood nearby, her gaze questioning. "Michael's trying to change," Adrian said softly. Elena's eyes filled with something between sorrow and hope, though she said nothing. Maybe, just maybe, time would mend what words could not. 7 years passed. Adrian had kept in touch with Michael all this time, though Elena kept her distance. One sunny afternoon, as Adrian sorted through the mail, his eyes caught on a cream-colored envelope with elegant lettering. Opening it, he found a wedding invitation. Michael was getting married. Adrian held the invitation out to Elena, watching for her reaction. She studied it in silence, her fingers lightly brushing the embossed lettering. Finally, she looked up, her eyes soft with a mixture of nostalgia and hope. "It's time Michael met his niece," she said. A few days before the wedding, Adrian, Elena, and their daughter, Anna, arrived in the small town where Michael had built his new life. The garden outside his modest home was vibrant with color, each flower a testament to the years of growth and change. Michael stepped onto the porch as they approached, his eyes widening with emotion. "Elena?" "Adrian." His gaze fell to the little girl clinging to Elena's hand. "And this must be Anna." Elena knelt beside her daughter. "Anna? This is your Uncle Michael." Michael dropped to one knee, tears shining in his eyes as Anna hesitated, then stepped forward to hug him. As her small arms wrapped around his neck, something inside Michael seemed to break and heal all at once. Rising to his feet, he met Elena's gaze. "I'm so sorry for all the pain I caused. I never thought I'd have the chance to say this in person, but I've spent every day trying to be a man worthy of your forgiveness." Elena searched his eyes and saw the truth reflected there. The years of struggle, the hard-won redemption, and the genuine remorse of a brother who had finally found his way. "I forgive you, Michael," she said softly, tears filling her eyes. "I'm proud of the man you've become." As Michael pulled her into a hug, the years of pain and regret melted away, replaced by the warmth of a family finally made whole again. The days leading up to Michael's wedding were filled with laughter, shared memories, and a sense of peace that had eluded the family for years. Elena and Michael spent time reconnecting, their conversations a mixture of tears and laughter as they mended the wounds of the past. Adrian watched with a heart full of pride, knowing that both siblings had found their way back to each other. On the day of the wedding, sunlight filtered through the trees of the small-town chapel, casting a golden glow on the gathered guests. Michael stood at the altar, his eyes scanning the crowd until they found Elena, Adrian, and Anna seated near the front. His smile was a reflection of the joy and gratitude that filled his heart. After the ceremony, the reception buzzed with warmth and celebration. Anna danced with her uncle, her laughter ringing through the air as Michael twirled her across the dance floor. Adrian wrapped an arm around Elena's waist as they watched, the moment a symbol of how far they had all come. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Michael approached Elena, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Thank you for being here. It means more to me than I can say." Elena placed a hand on his cheek, her touch soft and full of understanding. "I'm proud of you, Michael. You've shown that it's never too late to change, and I know that Dad and Mom would be proud too." Michael pulled her into a hug, holding on as if to seal the bond that had once been broken. "I will never take this second chance for granted, I promise." As the night wore on, the family laughed, danced, and celebrated a future built on forgiveness and love. When it was time to leave, Michael knelt beside Anna. "Be good for your mom and dad, okay? And come visit your Uncle Michael soon." Anna giggled and hugged him tightly before running back to Adrian and Elena. Michael stood and met Elena's gaze one last time. "Until next time," he said softly. "Until next time," she replied, her heart lighter than it had been in years. As Adrian, Elena, and Anna drove away, the lights of the reception fading into the distance, Elena took Adrian's hand in hers and whispered, "We made it through." Adrian squeezed her hand, glancing at Anna in the back seat. "We did, and the best is yet to come." With the road stretching before them and the past finally laid to rest, they drove toward a future filled with hope, love, and the unbreakable bond of family. Their story a testament to the power of forgiveness and the strength found in second chances. Thanks for listening to Green Tea Tale. Help our channel grow with likes, shares, and subscribe.